So first of all, strictly ball business here, guys. Episode 27. We're analyzing Bleacher Report's redraft of 2018. And obviously, first overall, we all know who would go in a redraft, and they agreed with us, is Luka Doncic. I mean, just a bona fide star in this league. Although maybe doesn't have as much playoff success as other guys on this list, but still a fantastic player, huh?
Yeah, clearly the best player. Granted, not that much difference between him and number two. However, he is clearly the best player. He's come out. I mean, I didn't believe in him when he first started. I thought he's going to be a bust. I was wrong. It was just me and white guys from Europe. It was the Mario Hezonja curse that I was like, it's happening again. But
Yeah.
he's going to be the face of this league soon. He's amazing. He's a great player to have in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, like he would go to the Suns in this scenario. So, he's playing alongside Devin Booker. And, they probably don't get Chris Paul then if they draft Luka Doncic. So it's interesting to think of the ripple effect that this has and who maybe they would bring in instead, because would they still try to get a veteran at some point? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Funny enough, like they'd get the better player in here, but I don't think they would make it to the finals still if they had Luka over and Booker.
Yeah.
I
would
just
really shake up their team. Yeah, because they wouldn't get Chris Paul.
Yeah, because the Suns fit so well together, and that's kind of why they go so far with Paul, Booker, and Ayton, the top three stars, plus Mikhail, who's further down in this draft too. Like adding all those guys together, that's probably messed it up. I don't think they would make it to the finals. Clearly had a better player, but I don't know.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, great team. Second overall in the redraft, though, it was obvious who they were going to say here as well as Trae Young, another guy who's blossomed into a star. I would admit that I was very down on him coming into the league. I just thought it's a failed Curry clone is what he's going to be, but I was wrong. He's a lot more than that. He's a great facilitator and a leader for his squad, and has even adjusted with the foul changes this year with what they're allowing. They're jumping into defenders. But he makes sense for this spot. He would go to the Kings in this scenario, right?
Yeah, play well next to De'Aaron Fox. But that's a great point. Bringing up the foul shots, like everyone said before the season that like he doesn't play basketball. Everyone hated the way he made basketball, and they were really upset the way he was an all-star starter last year, and they were super mad about it because of how he played. And he showed
this year, maybe.
Yeah, he showed that that's not what made him good. And he has the highest offensive rating, I think, in the league. He runs the best offense while he's on the floor. His offense is it's like something insane, like plus 50. I mean, don't quote me. That's an exaggeration, but it's something
advanced
insane.
Analytics love him.
Yeah. So he's wonderful. Yeah, he's great. And yeah, if he went to the Kings, he'd play next to De'Aaron Fox. Maybe the Kings would be relevant for once. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I mean, that would have been kind of like a yin and yang. Because Trae is not like, I wouldn't say he's like a run and gun. He's very methodical with his play. Where De'Aaron Fox is a bit more ferocious.
Yeah, definitely a better sure. I mean, he has Buddy Hield, but takes the ball out of his hands. Like De'Aaron Fox is kind of what Trae Young needs right now. Another player to take the ball out of his hands, and so he doesn't have to run the offense 100% of the time he's on the court. So that's kind of what they need right now, and that'd be cool.
That would be cool. I mean, it would be more likely now in reality that De'Aaron Fox would be traded to the Atlanta Hawks to go play with Trae Young. So that would be interesting. I don't know. Would the Hawks be willing to give up John Collins to make that happen? That would be interesting.
I don't know.
But anyways, we're talking the redraft from 2018. Number 3, they have Michael Porter Jr. going here. Now I feel like I have a responsibility to say that this article is a couple months old. So I think it's before he just had his recent back surgery, which to me is concerning because this was an issue he's had before. I think he's had 2 surgeries on it before or something. So we're talking about maybe 3 surgeries already, and he's had the blown ACL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had that back surgery right before, and that's why he dropped so low to originally 14. But now he's taking 3 here. I still think is high, but I mean, that's hindsight. I mean, obviously we're looking at it at the time. I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I'm thinking about now. 3 is still too high for me. I mean, he's still a guy that struggles with defense. Right before his injury, he was struggling with all that responsibility of being a scoring option. He was not doing well. He was not playing as well as he was last year. And it's hard to see it now. I don't see him being the third better. I don't see him being better than a lot of these guys on the list. For me, it would be this next guy on the list that would take this.
Yeah, for me, definitely. They have Ayton at 4 here, who's definitely better than Michael Porter Jr. And I would say I would rather take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over him too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I would too. And I think it's a toss-up with some of the other guys. But yeah, I mean, moving on to Ayton, if we want, like, people said he was a bust. I mean, even he had a decent rookie year. Like, I'm like, come on. Like, even though he falls to 4 now in the draft, granted, I think he's 3, but he's been great. I mean, how often do you see like a big man just come out? I mean, Mobley right now, he's like a sensation, but Ayton kind of did what he was doing now. He's just less possessions. Like it wasn't him that changed as much as the team. The team gave him
he's
more
really
possessions.
solid. I would say he's very dependent on other players, though. Like Chris Paul definitely pulls a lot out of Ayton. I wouldn't say he's like, the sole reason. Like Ayton's obviously got a lot of talent. That dude eats up boards, and he's great with the and ones as well. But he's just not dynamic enough. He doesn't shoot beyond like 10 or 12 feet, 15 feet. He's not much of a ball handler. Like he technically jump shoots it a lot when he's down low in the paint, but I can't, he's not really pulling out the guy as much. He's not stretching the floor enough. And defensively, he seems solid. But he's not a superstar there, I would say.
No, like I think he's like a perfect example of an all-around center that we have in this league. He kind of does a little bit of everything pretty well. He took a massive jump defensively before us. He was fine with bigs. Like he was all right. He wasn't a liability. But then it was his responsibility to guard Giannis in the finals line. Granted, they lost, but he still did a really nice job to ask at the time a 3-year player to go and guard like the best player in the league. I mean, he did a nice job, and when he was on Giannis, there was no easy buckets. He did everything he could. So that was the most impressive part for me. Like he was on the finals, and he looked like he was ready to be on that stage. He still was a little foul, got into a foul trouble a lot, especially in the finals, but that'll come. He's just a young player, and I think he belonged in the finals, and I think we'll hopefully see him there again.
No doubt. Well, 6th on the list, they have Mikhail Bridges, solid player.
Well, you jumped over like one of my favorite guys on this list. You went to 6. That's all right.
At 5th, they had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who fantastic player on a poor team. I'd say if he was on a better team, he probably is a lot higher on this list, even if he's doing the same stuff he's doing now.
Oh yeah. Well, he was a huge reason why the Clippers went to the playoffs before they went out and got Kawhi, before they went out and got PG. Like he's a really great player. He's a superstar. Arguably, he could go 3 in this if you want to put him above Ayton or put him above MPJ. I can certainly see that happening. He's all around guard. He can defend. He can shoot, playmaker, drive. He does a lot of everything, He's a great prospect, and I think the Thunder are in a really happy place that they have a perfect guy to build around. You can go off ball, you can go on ball, do whatever you need.
I think they're happy, but like at some point, Shai might get tired of the losing.
Yeah, I think he knows their timeline. I think they know their timeline. I know they're not ready to be good. I think they just hit another prospect. I think they're one trade away from being like, all right, let's start this ball rolling let's start being competitive. I think if they get a trade for like John Collins or something. And I mean, they
No,
found
for
something in
sure.
Lou Dort. They found something in Josh Giddey. I think they just need to work on their front court.
No, I'm sure I'm sure he's happy about like, oh, you got Giddy, he's a solid player, and maybe in this next draft you get solid. They really got to hit on getting a top 3 pick at some point. But also like, Shea's been in Oklahoma City, what, going on 4th year now, or is this his 4th year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his
Right?
first year was with the Clippers, so this is
Because we're
his
talking 2018.
third year. This is his third year with the
Okay.
OKC.
All right. So this is third season with OKC. At what point do you get tired of spending a lot of your time in Oklahoma?
Yeah. It could. We're going to reach that time. I think next year is the selling point for him. They paid him the money. I think it takes a few years, especially in that rookie. I don't on that rookie scale contract. I think it takes a few years once you're making the big bucks, making the max contract before he even gets to that mindset of thinking. So I think they've got 3-4 years left in of SGA before they have to start actually making not making improvement, but like getting far in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just it's when you're in a small market, and especially Oklahoma, where I don't know, maybe he's closer there, maybe he likes going there. I don't know, but when you're comparing it to the other cities, you just have to your rebuild has to be faster. You have to prove yourself quicker, unless you strike a guy that's just has that internal honor, that Ned Starkness within himself. But not everybody's like that. I mean, a lot of them talk the talk, but not all of them walk the walk. I mean, today, Dirk Nowitzki was on a German podcast, and I saw a transcribed version of it. And he was on the record of saying if he didn't win that championship in 2011, he likely would have looked for other teams later in his career to go get a ring. And it's interesting hearing him say that because there's a lot of players in this league who I've heard say like, oh, I want to play for one team forever, just like Dirk. Like, oh, I got to be loyal to my team, just like Dirk. And it's like, well, Dirk himself was like, hey, if I didn't get that chip, I was going to have to go get it somewhere else.
Yeah, you can only put up with so much. And that's why front offices have to do what they can. But speaking of the small markets, though, instead of the Suns picking up this steal in the draft at 10, he's going 6 to my Orlando Magic, Mikhail Bridges.
Ooh, yeah,
is this great. who I would have thought would go 6? In my opinion, no. But he is a very underrated player, great defender, probably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. That's why he's a good shooter. He's got a little bit of everything, just not a big enough role in the Suns to show what we really need him to be. But he certainly is an effective player, a huge part of why they went to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's a very, very good catch and shoot type of player. You throw him in the corner, and if he's open, he's gonna nail it in the clutch, especially. Like he's awesome in that.
He was huge in those games.
Great outlet passer as well, and I think he would be great to the Magic. It'd be a solid player that they could help rebuild around. But I worry if he was on a team that, like the Magic, where they were too bad, that they would inflate him too much and see him as more than what he is. Like what he is with the Suns is great. But what if you tried to push him beyond that and it just wasn't going to work out?
Well, at this time, he would have fit into a lineup. You would have thought it, looking at it, it would have been Peyton with Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, Fournier. He would have fit in fine, I think. Jonathan Isaac, who never plays, so he'd effectively play his role just a little better because he was he'd be actually on the court. So I think he would have fit in fine. Like he'd be close to the same role actually that at the time of the Magic drafting him in 2018.
Yeah. Well, that would have been a good pick, but who did they end up taking instead?
Mo Bamba.
That's right, Mo Bamba.
Which was still weird because they had Vucevic.
Well, the next pick they have in this redraft is Jaron Jackson Jr., who, playing really well this year, has been injured a lot, though, in his career. Should he have potentially gone ahead of a guy like Mikhail Bridges? Maybe. I think it's kind of a closer debate, but Mikhail has been there, best ability is availability,
Yeah. He's a second Triple J's arguably the second best player on a Grizzlies team that's made a lot of progress in the West. They've took a huge step this year. A lot of it's his defense, spreading the floor. He's not that efficient of an offensive player, but you certainly see all the potential that he was drafted on for. Fourth, obviously he was drafted high at fourth. 7, I would put him above Mikhail. I feel confident enough about that. But 7th isn't a bad place. Going to the Bulls at this time, I mean, what they need now is a power forward. Like if they would have had Triple J instead of.
Oh man, yeah, the Bulls with Triple J would be great.
Oh, this is Wendell. This was Wendell. That'd be. I mean, they wouldn't have Vucevic, but it'd be different. Yeah, but yeah, it'd still be a different lineup. I don't know if the Bulls would be as good, but I can't say they wouldn't be in this case.
Yeah, it'd be a good addition to them, and like if they didn't end up trading him away in like one of the other packages, anyways, because like that's how they've gotten all their talent in Chicago right now has been through trades and free agency.
Yeah. I mean, DeMar was a sign and trade. It was, but like there's that goes into it's like half a trade.
I'm saying like they have like no drafted and homegrown talent as well.
Kobe White's still there.
Kobe White sucks.
We'll get into that later. But
we won't.
Speaking of talent that just kind of came up, like the Time Lord is 8. He's going to Cleveland Cavaliers, which would mess up their entire what they're doing now. I don't think if they made this draft and got Robert Williams, who before we get into the team success, I think 8, this is a good spot for him. I think it's a little high considering some of the other players on here, especially specifically 3, 4 of them. I think he's not as good as 4 other people that are under here in this draft, but he's certainly not a bad player. He's a great player, can be a starting caliber center on any team. Doesn't spread the floor, but plays great defense, perimeter and inside defense. So he's great. Market value, it says 5-year, $52 million. That's good. But if he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't get Jared Allen. They probably don't get Mobley. I think it changes everything they do, and I think they would be worse. I don't think
they pass on Mobley. I mean, they maybe don't bring in Allen, but I doubt they pass on Mobley if they're at 3 still in the draft because like he was just that great of a player popping off the board for talent. So, I mean, I don't know. Scotty Barnes would have been a solid pick though too, but I don't know.
It just like this messes with their future to the point where like I really don't know what the team would look like. I don't know if they would win more after this. I don't know if they would lose more. It just messes up their timeline. The Time Lord messes up their timeline so much that I can't actually foresee like what this team would look like now if they would have drafted Time Lord.
Look like a bitch. Yeah, I don't know.
Another guy. I think this next guy was drafted too high too. Granted, I like him, Mitchell Robinson, drafted at 9. I think there's again 4 other guys that I would put above him in this draft. He's a very specialist type player. I don't know if he can be a starting player for being 7 foot 7'7", 7'2". He's not the best rebounder. Granted, great shot blocker, one of the best shot blockers in our league. However, that's kind of all he can do. Like that's all you ask him to do. He's very foul trouble. He pretty much only plays 20, 25 minutes a night as a starter because of his foul troubles. And no spacing on the floor. He's a really nice player. Just like I said, like there's another specialist on here that's really good at one thing, and that's why he got his contract, and he's really good at inside defense. I can see him going. Just drafted too high for me.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that's next on this board is who I would have put. I mean, even I would have kept him still at 8, Colin Sexton, but instead he gets drafted at 10th in this redraft. I mean, Colin Sexton, I know is injured this year, so there's probably maybe some recency bias with that. But that dude's an animal and is a scoring machine. Maybe he is a specialist just on offense and doesn't give you much of anything on defense. But, I mean, he's averaging close to 25 points per game at his age. Like, that's incredible. I know it was down this year, too. And Garland is definitely, like, you know, if you had to choose between the two, you're going to choose Garland now, it looks like. But, I mean, Sexton is still a really freaking good player. And, like, I think the Cavs, when they end up trading him, like, they're going to get something good in return.
Yeah, and imagine how crazy good the 76ers would be. I mean, he's kind of the missing piece that they would have had, like, because he would be next to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and if this was draft, I think this is where Matisse went. So, like, you looking at that, being like, would have been the third star, would have been the third piece, along with a guy. I don't
Yeah,
know
it
if
would have
they would
fit
have had
well.
Jimmy or
Maybe
Tobias yet,
they
but
maybe would have won a championship by now. Yeah, if they
yeah, you got
had
to
Sexton
think
too.
that would be crazy. I mean,
That would have been a big addition.
yeah, there's pushed the 76ers way better than they actually were. Not that Matisse is a bad player, but
Yeah,
Collins
Matisse is a
clearly
very
one of the
good
better.
defender. Obviously, a lot better defender than Colin. But I mean, the Sixers have good defenders with or without Matisse, and they could probably find a decent veteran defender. I'm not saying as good as Matisse, but it's hard to find a dynamic scorer who can, handle the ball like and control the offense like Colin Sexton does. And
Yeah,
the Sixers need a guy like that. They have
yeah,
needed a guy like
for
that.
sure. I still think Colin Sexton can help out the Sixers. He's injured right now, and he's not
Yeah,
injured so he's not going anywhere because he's injured. Nobody's going to trade for
yeah,
him because it's his last
right.
year on his contract.
That kind of was a bummer. That kind of messed things up.
Yeah, sure did. But that was the
I thought he
top
signed
10.
an extension.
Did he?
Yeah, 4 years, 100 mil. I thought.
I didn't see that.
Maybe not. Maybe he declined that.
Yeah, I think that was what he
We'll look
declined
into
because
it.
I think he's going to restricted free agency. But next one is I don't have much to say about this one. It's Dante DiVincenzo to the Hornets at 11. I think it's too high. He spent all year last year out. He's struggling to get back into form this year.
Who else is available?
So if we want to move on, so 12, the Clippers pick up Duncan Robinson. I think Duncan's that specialist I was talking about, 3-point shooter. I would put Duncan, certainly above Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, both have been to the finals. Dante didn't play in the finals, but wow, this is like the third team that went to the finals. A bunch of rookies went to the finals. Now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah,
man. No, Duncan's really solid.
Great piece to have.
He's a specialist. He's older than Dante, but he helps you more immediately. So who cares how old he is?
Yeah, I mean, people can argue about Dante's potential that he could be more, but I don't see that potential. And as of right now,
I haven't
Duncan's
seen it pay
better.
off yet.
Yeah, Duncan's
he's
better.
Quite a bit better, I feel like.
But
I mean, Dante is a really solid, wing when it comes to the transition. He can control the offense a little bit, and he's definitely a better defender than Duncan is. But
yeah, he is. That's right.
Duncan's such a good 3-point shooter. That just having that on your team is such a big addition.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like he just instantly spreads the floor and changes the defense when he's out there. But the biggest travesty on this list, this redraft here, is this guy. And granted, this came out before he really came out and had a great season. It's Miles Bridges at 13 to the LA Clippers. Clippers would love this, but I would personally have him. I'd say he'd go 7th on my redraft. Miles
he should
Bridges,
be pretty high on here. Yeah.
Yeah, 7th on mine. I would put him right below Jaron Jackson, but above is that his brother? Mikhail's brother?
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not related.
Okay, well, I'd put him above Mikhail. So, and he would fall at 7th for me. He's really shown shooting still struggles, but he took that offensive jump.
Got a lot of potential. I feel like he's still getting better. So that's definitely a guy that should be going very high.
Definitely rim running guy who can come out and give you 20. I think that's valuable on a lot of teams. But
that's what Derek Williams was supposed to be.
He is what Derek Williams was supposed to be. 14th, my guy, Wendell Carter. I think he's a lot higher. Not a lot higher, but I certainly would put him above guys like I would put Wendell above Duncan Robinson. I would put him above Mitchell Robinson. I don't know about Time Lord. I think it's close. Wendell can spread the floor. He has good interior defense. Not that good of the perimeter defense, but still a good guy. Showing a lot of playmaking in the role he is with the Magic. Play power forward, center. I think he's a versatile big that I think he'd be a top 10 in this draft, I would say.
I mean, I think he could go ahead of Robinson, like Mitchell Robinson, that is. I don't know who else he would go ahead of. Maybe Dante, go ahead of Dante.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to compare him to guys like Duncan Robinson and Colin Sexton because they're such completely different players. They're both completely different expectations for the player when they come into it. But 15, Devante Graham. Yeah, sure. That That's
he's
fine.
a fine player. He's a little inefficient, but
It was a pretty deep draft.
so far there's a good amount of players that are still solid. So that's
Right.
good to see.
My next notable actually is at 17, the Milwaukee Bucks pick up Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen would go a lot higher. Clearly better than D'Anthony Melton.
I think. Yeah, I feel like if this article was written more recent, like he's been really solid this year with Luka being out. And he's probably going to get a pretty big contract this offseason.
Yeah, I think he would certainly. I would put him above Duncan. I would put him above Wendell. Yeah, I mean, he's in the skill level of Wendell, so he could fit in the. I wouldn't be surprised if he made top 10. Would I put him in the top 10? I'm not sure. I'd have to list him out, but it's close. It's close. He's certainly a lot better. When he got drafted, I was surprised he got drafted in the second round. I was hoping the Magic would draft him. I loved him in Villanova, so I was like, this guy's clearly good. I mean, he was player of the year of college too, and won the championship. Did they win the Villanova? Didn't win the champ. Yeah, they did.
Gonzaga, are you thinking of? Or Villanova did win it one year.
Yeah, him and Dante DiVincenzo against that was Mo Wagner. That was the year Mo Wagner and Michigan. It was Michigan versus Villanova. I think Villanova won. I think they did. Spurs get Kevin Huerter at 18, whatever. I think mine. Okay, so Bagley drops from 2 all the way to 22. This guy's going to the Bulls from New Orleans. I think
to go in the first round.
Yeah, honestly, like not that I hate the guy. It's just it isn't working out in Sacramento. They're clearly just putting him out there because they don't want to waste his asset. He's gonna get traded this trade season. He has to. I mean, they can't just kill an asset like that. I think he can certainly be better than 22. There's
the Kings.
They could. Great point. But also like he's the thing is though, even in this right now, he could still. I don't have him at 22. Like 23, Jared Vanderbilt has clearly played better than him this year. Jared drafted 41st. I think Jared has a lot of potential, and we've really seen him in this big role excel. He's a specialist, granted. So he's not like top 10, maybe not even top 15, but he
excels in what he does, which is very valuable.
The best offensive rebounder in this league.
And the Timberwolves need that type of player. They needed a guy that could bring in offensive rebounds because nobody else is doing it. Cat is going out to the 3-point line more often, so he's not able to get in there. He's not banging down low as much. Though he's still very successful at it and does it on occasion, but you needed another guy who's willing to do the dirty work and go for the balls out of bounds. And he's just got a motor, man. Like he does not stop. He is constantly, trying to keep possessions going, and more often than not, when you keep the possession going, you're going to get a bucket.
Oh yeah. He really kills it.
It helps.
But, my last two notables, Mo Bamba at 26. I personally would have him higher. He has played better this year. He's actually gotten the minutes. I would see him going 20th, obviously, to the Wolves if I had to redraft it. Better than Javion Carter's currently in this list going to the Wolves. I would put him above Javion. Not that Javion, it's hard to say because he's on the Nets. He doesn't get much time. So the potential's there for Carter, but I would still put Mo Bamba that high. But
yeah, did the Wolves take Josh Okogie originally?
Yeah, that was Okogie. Okogie was their pick. But Gary Trent Jr. on all the way to 27, that doesn't sound right. Like he should be a lot really higher. Good.
He just had like his third 30-point game like in some short period.
Yeah, he's really nice. I mean, he was traded for Norman Powell. Like he was for almost a straight up trade. So like he was a pretty good guy. Like I don't know.
He got a decent extension.
Be a top 15 draft.
He's solid. Very, very good 3-point shooter. I think he's still around 40% this year. And excels in the role that he's given. Like they have a lot of guards there on that team. So I think like maybe could shine a little bit more somewhere else. But I don't know. They did just trade for him too. I think maybe he just needs to grow a bit more into himself. He's doing it more lately too.
Sure.
Probably earn the trust of coach more, play alongside a guy like Fred VanVleet, and you're gonna have stardom coming your way.
Yeah, but That was Bleacher Report's 2021 draft. What did you guys think of it? Comment below. Let us know. Please let us know. Are we right?
Subscribe. Strictly Ball Business. Let us know if we're right.
Let us know if we're wrong.
We would do it, or if you think Bleacher Report is right.
Yeah, what was the biggest travesty? Let us know. Put that down there. Who was the biggest displacement on where you would have put him?